This guy's retired, but loves to work. So he's down here killing it as usual at SEC Media Days. It is the one, the only, Jimmy Hyams. Jimmy, I figured this up. This is 25 for me, 25 SEC Media Days. I missed a couple working for a national company with an acronym that we won't mention. But how many is this for you?
I haven't missed one since 1985. So whatever that is that 38, 39?
That is strong, my man.
Whatever it is, yeah. It's football season starts with the media days, doesn't it?
It does. And for some reason, I felt like it today. Monday, I wasn't feeling it, but today I'm feeling it. So back in 1985, I thought that players maybe should have gotten paid. They were nowhere close to that. But
yeah, they were.
Oh, that's true. They were. It's just a little
legal,
bit. That's right. It wasn't it's a little bit different. And I wasn't doing it at the time. So, but with the NIL thing is so interesting to me because it goes state to state. And now you have Greg Sankey basically kind of throwing up his hands this week and saying, I need help from Congress. Yeah. And I don't know when that help could possibly come. I don't think it's a matter of weeks or months. We might be still talking about years.
I think so. And there's so many things that Congress has to deal with other than this. We were talking with Danny White, Tennessee's athletic director, earlier, and I said, are you confident that Congress could come up with a legislation that would take care of name, image, and likeness? And he said, well, now you're dealing with politics. And so I'm not really, basically he was saying I'm not confident in anything that has to do with politics. So this thing could be a long way away. It was the first week or so of June that Greg Sankey and 14 schools were represented. All 14 SEC schools were represented when they went to Washington, D.C. They spent 3 days there. They felt good about the conversations. But for them to enact something, they got to get some kind of bill in front of them, and you know how long that could take. So yeah, I think they could be several years away. And by then, who knows what name, image, and likeness is going to look like in reality.
You got an economy, you got the Ukraine thing, and then you got a presidential election coming on. I think that maybe NIL may be a little bit lower than those three.
Well, name something big. Nothing's bigger than name, image, and likeness.
Stop what you're doing and let's get this NIL thing taken care of.
By golly, we got kids making $500 a week. We can't have it will be interesting to see what transpires, David. And there are a lot of things about name, image, and likeness I like. I'm not crazy about a player that's never played it down for your school getting $2 million. I'm not a big fan of that because it creates a lot of dissension. If you don't think that was the root of the A&M evils last year, you weren't paying attention. When they paid all those players to come in as freshmen, the veterans who weren't getting paid said, to hell with this. That's one reason they had a losing record. You have to manage it some way. So I would prefer that you get on campus and then earn your way to name, image, and likeness. And I don't care how much it is once you get there. I don't like paying $2 million to get somebody on campus.
No, agreed. So let's turn to a little bit more recent news, and that is Tennessee's punishment by the NCAA. Wide open question. How did it strike you?
I thought it was likely and fair. I had been led all along to believe that the NCAA was not going to give Tennessee a postseason ban. There were several reasons for that, but one of the main reasons was Tennessee was cooperating. And if you cooperate, there was a thought, okay, we're not going to punish innocent bystanders like some of the coaches and players that were there. The other part of that was Greg Sankey was on that Reformation committee. What did that committee say? Don't punish the current players. Let's get rid of the bowl bans. Let's get rid of the postseason NCAA tournament bans if a team is cooperating. And Tennessee was cooperating. So in March, I was very sure Tennessee wouldn't get a bowl ban. I was told the fine could be up to $10 million. They were negotiating it. It ended up being $8 million, so I wasn't surprised by that. I also think Tennessee was negotiating the number on scholarship reductions. But the way I look at it, Dave, it doesn't really hurt them much at all. They've already self-imposed 16. So now it's 12 over the next 5 years. It was a total of 28. And they were allowed to retroactively count those 16. So 12 in 5 years, 2.2 a year, that's not a big deal. Especially when you consider when Heupel got there, they were playing with a shortened roster, and he still was having success. So I don't think those punishments will hurt Tennessee on the field. Few people use all of their visits, right?
Right.
So I don't think that's going to have a huge impact on them. So I think they came out pretty good as far as football.
I don't think it hurts either with the transfer portal because when you and I used to cover recruiting together, you would never boot a guy. You'd do the whole medical red shirt, something like that. You would never boot a guy. But nowadays with the transfer portal, it's not unusual. I'm sure Josh Heupel's done it. Other coaches do it to boot a guy. So then you take somebody in the transfer portal. Really, the scholarship reductions is nothing to me because you can go make a scholarship tomorrow if you need to.
You can, and also ask this question: if you put somebody on as a walk-on, can you give them a name, image, and likeness deal? And the answer was there was no language in this NCAA sanctions that said you couldn't. So you could take a tight end, take a Warren, take him on scholarship, and he does some name, image, and likeness stuff and makes $100,000. Who knows? Just picking a number out of the air, but that's how you could offset the situation of having a reduction of scholarship. So I don't think it's a big deal at all.
We had off the hook sports are maybe a small part of that $100,000, but a very small part. So with Jimmy Hyams, I'm Dave Hooker. And then as far as you, I thought your reporting was excellent from SEC spring meetings about the scheduling issue. And I don't know how that gets worked out, but I'm afraid that the end result is going to be no more rivalries like Tennessee, Alabama, like Georgia, Auburn. I don't know that it happens tomorrow or next year or even in the next 5 years, but with the growth of the sport, I just have trouble believing that you're going to be able to hold on to those rivalries long term.
I think you can hold on to them if you go to 9 games. If you keep it at 8, and it's only for 1 year right now, if you keep it at 8, you're right. You cannot preserve the rivalries that you have. That's the 7-1 model. If you go to the 6-3 model, where you can have 3 permanent and then rotate 6, you can at least keep 3 of those rivalry games. So you got a much better chance if you go to 9. What intrigued me was I am convinced that the Monday of the spring meetings, Greg Sankey thought he had the votes to go to 9.
I think, yeah.
And he was surprised that he didn't. And so they reached a resolution of 8 for 1 year. I think he's still pushing to go to 9, but he did point out when they announced the 8-game schedule, June the 14th, that were pretty darn tough schedules. Everybody's got some tough games in there, right? So I wonder if when he looked at that he might have softened his position on going to 9. Now, he wants 9, I believe, in part because, 1, you can keep the rivalry games. Secondly, you can negotiate with ESPN to get more money. And that's a part of the equation, too. So that was convinced they were going to go to 9 at one point. I'm not as convinced right now. I still think they probably will get to 9. But I'm with you. If they stick at 8, they cannot keep those rivalry games, all of them. So I would be disappointed in that.
Let me bounce back to one other thing as far as the NCAA punishment. Sorry to jump around, but you had the Attorney General say that they potentially could have sued the NCAA if there was a postseason ban. That could be political posturing.
It was.
You think it's as clear as that, or is it just a sign the NCAA has even less power and only runs a basketball tournament?
You are a volunteer member of the NCAA.
Okay.
So you don't have to be a member of the NCAA. You volunteer. It's a volunteer organization. I thought the lawsuit threat was meaningless.
So that would be like if somebody says you can't smoke marijuana on this job, it may be legal, but you're signing up to work for them. Is that kind of a similar analogy?
Yeah. If that's their policy, if the Yankees say you can't have facial hair, can't have facial hair. So yeah, I thought that was just a political posturing gesture. I thought it had no teeth to it at all, and I don't think it influenced NCAA at all.
My wife says I can't have facial hair because it's all white now.
Really?
And by the way,
it's not red?
I was going to ask you. So you know me. I ask people randomly now. I said, "What color is my hair?" And they say, "Oh, you're a blonde."
No.
I mean, isn't that still red?
Yes,
Dude, I mean,
red.
Let's go up and ask 3 people at SEC Media Days, what color is Dave's hair? And they will say blonde. They'll say maybe strawberry blonde. That's what's happening to us. So we're getting old. What's going on?
I don't even ask people what color my hair is.
Just glad I got some.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, compared to some other people here.
There's a multitude of people who lost hair at SEC Media Days. We are not one of them. He is Jimmy Hyams. I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports.